tell you guys about something today, but first, I fixed up my bike and let's go somewhere nicer. Okay, so I'm at the park right now. It's pretty peaceful, but there's a little bit of wind. Hopefully that goes away soon. So today I want to talk about what happened in the past week. And to give you a little bit of context, I'm graduating medical school this year. And in Canada, in order to practice independently, we need to be issued a license. And you need to pass 2 exams in order to obtain this license. And the first part of that exam is done during the last year of your medical school, which is about now for my case. And because of this pandemic, this whole exam has been suspended. And very recently, about 2 weeks ago, we got the news that the exam will resume. And then comes the day that the scheduling opens, and it was just a total disaster. The first day the system crashed, we couldn't do anything, and then the second day the same thing kind of repeated. They had a lot of technical errors, there were a lot of bugs on the website, you had to go roundabout ways in order to get yourself in and schedule this exam. I had to call in person because I had special accommodations, and that meant hours and hours of being on hold and not really get anywhere. And at this point, you can probably imagine that people were pissed off. And that same day, there were hundreds of posts in our common Facebook group just complaining about the situation and people showing that they're angry, they feel disrespected. And there was even a Facebook group that was created gathering medical students across Canada. And by the second day, there were over 1,000 members in that Facebook group, kind of advocating for our rights. People were pitching in ideas about potentially canceling the exam and stuff like that. So there was a lot of collective hate and anger. But for some reason, as I was on the phone, on hold for hours, and as I finally get through the line and I was offered a date that wasn't ideal, there was a part of me that felt okay. There was a part of me that was peaceful with whatever that was offered to me. But of course, there was another part of me that wanted to follow the rest of the group and wanted to jump into the bandwagon and feel angry and frustrated. It felt scary to be okay. It felt scary to do something that nobody was doing and be alone with that decision. I felt that if I was just okay and if I just sit there and do nothing, I might lose something compared to everyone else who was advocating for what they want. And so then it was pretty easy, and I became frustrated. I felt that I was being treated unfairly, and I constructed this story for myself, the same one that everyone else constructed for themselves, and that is the system has failed us, that this is totally unfair and unacceptable and disrespectful. And while these feelings were perfectly valid, the mistake I made was making them mine. Truthfully, I could deal with the date that I was offered, and I didn't feel as much of an inner frustration as a lot of other people. But I still embraced that group mentality and carried that negative energy and that story forward with me, right? And that energy not only impacted myself in a negative way, as I wasn't happy in the past few days, but it also impacted the way I interacted with everyone else around me in that time period, right? I wasn't exactly the friendliest to the people on the phone, and I wasn't exactly the happiest around my family and friends. I wrote many negative emails, I complained to a bunch of people, and none of it came authentically. I was just kind of acting with this collective energy. There was a part that bugged me. It bugged me because I feel like I didn't act truly out of how I felt, but I forced myself to act that way in the fear of losing something if I didn't. And the funny or crazy thing about all this in retrospect is that I clearly had the choice, right? Every time I acted a certain way and I felt uncomfortable, every single moment was an opportunity that a choice came up. It was an opportunity where I was offered to act differently because something in my gut feelings told me to. And I chose the other road, the easier road, and that is to act out of the collective frustration that we all had. 2 nights ago, when I came to this realization, I felt very emotional because for the first time, I sensed that part of me that was okay with whatever that happened. And I saw that choice being clearly presented in front of me. And I felt very grateful to be able to take this step back and come to this realization. To be honest, it brought tears to myself when I realized that whenever I'm being mean or negative towards someone else, what I'm really doing is being mean and not kind enough to myself. And that's sad because I always have the choice to be nice to myself, to be kind to myself. And I had the choice to save myself from the kind of miseries and frustrations I went through this past week, but I chose not to. And so, having realized this, is it gonna be easier next time to go against the collective energy? I think the answer is no, because the collective energy is just so strong and influential. What I do know is it is worth my every effort in the future to always try my best to act out of love and to act in a way that truly represents my feelings instead of taking the collective feeling as my own and just act like everyone else. I think this is the biggest lesson that I learned.